You're just here to hear me talk about 666. Hello, I'm Kendall Brian Hunter, author of the book Consider My Servant Job. This book right here, yes, you realize it is December. I'm filming this on the 15th, 10 days until Christmas. I hope you understand how deadlines work. I'm a author of this book, and yes, make a good Christmas present. And this is Come Follow Me, Get to the Point, where I always show up, I always come prepared, we never take roll, and just bring your own refreshments. I'm going to do a reframe for you, a strategy. So, this is a bag of junk food. Junk food is poison. Don't eat it. This is unhealthy. So before you take this poison, make a commitment to yourself. I'll eat an apple and an orange. An apple takes a little bit longer to digest, so eat that first. And that's another dieting trick. Eat meat first because it takes longer to digest, and put your salad second, and it'll work out better. So eat the apple and an orange, then eat the junk food, and watch what happens. So, housekeeping. Hello, Annalee Johnson. Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the team. You're part of us. We are at 117 followers, and I hope you can just feel the excitement and the energy that's building up as we get more and more followers. This enables me to monetize this so I can do a better program, so you're not looking at me with this door in the background or whatever that cardboard stuff is on the side. Also, thank you for catching up on some of the missed videos. I realize Thanksgiving, especially this time of year, is difficult, and going to a Christmas party or hearing me talk about 666, the choice is kind of obvious, and you can watch this later or at a other convenient time for you and catch up on some of the things I've been talking about. So today's approach, like the book of Isaiah, this does not lend itself, this reading assignment does not lend itself to a get to the point format. You have to take it slow and long, and so I don't know how long this is going to take. So if you're ready, let's get started. Now, here's another tip, in addition to that dieting one. Healthy food before junk food. As you're reading, you can take notes. And this is my first draft of notes here. For example, you see how I write, okay, the first seal, this is what happens, the second seal, et cetera, et cetera. So as you're reading, I have a piece of paper, you're reading paper and then or jot it on your tablet or phone if that's how you study things, and composition book, one of these type of journals works too if you want to be a little bit more formal about it. But take it, read it, and as you know, it'll help you understand what's going on. Because as I was going through this time, Book of Revelation is very sequential. The horn sounds, this is what happens. The other trumpet sounds, this is what happens. It's a lot more orderly. There's a lot of diffusion, needing to diffuse the emotion. You get these images of beasts and plagues and wormwood, and of course 666. And people's have sort of a emotional response to it where it just trips them out. And it's like, there's ways to deal with that. This is one of the strategies, is just writing down what you're reading. So other ways to do that is to study the writings of prophets. The late M. Russell Ballard gave a talk called When Will These Things Be, about Matthew 24. There's been other talks about prophecies. I recommend Elder McConkey's hence his cheat sheet on reading the book of Revelation. Another thing, too, is remember these. Okay, Joseph Smith is smarter than I am. I did not open a dispensation. Joseph Smith did. So let us see. I've got a table of contents. 249. You can do this without muttering to yourself like I do. 215, 231, con fingers, pages. It's coming, it's coming. See that? The second coming and the millennium. I'm not sure there's an excuse. It's in here, it's on your phone. You just have to tap a couple of times and invest some time in reading it, and there you go. So, yes, I'm a really big fan of these. I think this is one of the greatest things the church has done, is to collate the teachings of the prophets. So prophet manuals, conference talks. You have the BYU Scripture Citation app and Webpage where you can see if if you're confused about a verse, you can go to that and see what general authorities have taught about it. And with this reading block, it is absolutely essential that you read section 77 in the Doctrine and Covenants beforehand. Read that before you read the reading block. Like I said, I recommend reading the Bible dictionary, then going through reading the chapter headings, then marking the Joseph Smith translation. But before you start all that process, make sure you read section 77. That entire section is about Joseph Smith explaining what's going on here. So let's dig into the book. Chapters 6 through 8, it deals with the seals and the horsemen. Now, as section 77, we're back to that again. Section 77 explains this book, or a scroll, it's really a scroll, but it's a book with 7 seals on it. And every time you open up the book, open up the seal, it represents 1,000 years of the Earth's temporal existence, or the Earth's history. And so the seals open, they'll see this image, and then they get this explanation. So seal open, image explanation. And each seal is 1,000 years of the church history. And that gets into stuff about evolution, Big Bang. Now, the stuff we read in the scriptures does not jibe with science as we currently understand it, cosmology, paleontology. But it's, for me, I don't try and force them together. I say, okay, it's irreconcilable with the information we have at hand. There will be more information forthcoming. So let's leave it at that. I'm not omniscient. The scientists are not omniscient. We're both doing inductive reasoning. It's an asymptotic process. But Lecture on Faith 2 has a nice chronology. It's the longest lecture, and it goes through, and you can read the chronology and how a historian goes through and pieces history together. Like I said, it's at odds with a lot of stuff, and I just have to say, okay, we have to compartmentalize this right now because we just don't have enough information to reconcile the two. It's a matter of faith. But hey, this is kind of funny. I put a link in the notes section. There's a book by this man named Peter Medawar. He won the Nobel Prize, and his book is called The Limits of Science. A Nobel Prize winner says that science has limits. Yeah, it's interlibrary loan if you buy it used, but read it. Science does not make claims to omniscience. Science is really a process, not a set of facts. This is different than, like, say, mathematical knowledge, where you can't argue about the multiplication table, but dating stuff, that's always tweaking, and it gets a little bit worse with archaeology. So there you go on science. So back to the book of Revelation. Each of the 4 horsemen are symbolic expressions of what goes on the first millennium, second millennium, third and fourth millennium. And the term for this is called Chiliasm, called focusing on 1,000-year increments, millennialism. And also this section, it talks about the 144,000 sealed. And that gets explained in chapter 14 of the book of Revelation. So yeah, there is some sort of jumping around there, but also D&C 77. These are high priests who serve as missionaries. High priests called out of every tribe, not just the tribe of Ephraim, which is how we do things now, but every tribe. And a lot has to do with missionary work in Russia. That's apparently where the tribes went, is up in Russia. And it's a big country. I've been to Russia, big country. I remember when I was a kid, the first time I saw that the Soviet Union was bigger than the United States, it sent me into a panic. But yeah, that's how a little kid thinks. But missionaries from all these countries going out in all the world, and their high priests doing missionary work. It could be mission presidents. Don't exactly know, but we just kind of keep your finger on it, put a pin it, and pay attention to what's going on. So chapters 8 and 9, things go, when you hit the 6th seal, which is kind of about our time, things get bad. When you open up the 7th seal, things get really worse. That's when you have all the continual carpet bombing of plagues going on. And I'm not trying to come across saying that, okay, I'm getting off on this. I'm just describing what the Revelation says, so you get prepared. So the 7th seal is opened, and there's silence in heaven says for a certain amount of time. And if you, I forgot to put that in the notes. So if you translate that is approximately, I think it's like an hour and a half. If 1,000 years equals a day, then it's 21 years where we have the silence in heaven. And not sure what that is. It's sort of a calm before the storm, maybe an Indian summer. But it serves God's purposes. So I'm sorry about this. We read the Bible. So there's a lot about plagues and disasters. And You remember back before the pandemic, the year before the pandemic was 2019. That was 4 years ago when you read the book of Revelation. And so if you're doing your study and not making up excuses not to do your study, you learned about plagues and such. So when the pandemic happened, you probably weren't caught off guard because, like, yeah, you're supposed to be reading about this stuff. So let's go up there. So 8, 9, yeah, or passeth 6, 7, 8, and yeah, silence in heaven for about a half an hour. So 1,000 years a day. That mathematically works out to be 21 years. And plagues and disasters. So I'm going to quote some stuff from the Doctrine and Covenants, section 45, section 5, and then 124.87. And there shall be men standing in that generation that shall not pass until they see an overflowing scourge, for a desolating sickness shall cover the land. If you're a widow or a widower, or an orphan because of COVID-19, I hope you're paying attention to this. Section 519, for a desolating scourge shall go forth, and that's the sickness, among the inhabitants of the earth, and shall continue to be poured out from time to time. Let me stop right there. That's how diseases work, is they come, they go, the viruses and bugs mutate because they get exposed to radiation, and so you get stronger and weaker forms of seasonal diseases. But that's what the section talks about is, yeah, there's this desolating sickness that gets poured out from time to time. So keep that hand sanitizer ready, stock up on toilet paper, don't throw those masks away. The scourge will go forth from time to time if they repent not, until the earth is empty, and the inhabitants thereof are consumed away, and are utterly destroyed by the brightness of my coming. Until the earth is empty. And you're kind of reading about this, so be prepared. Don't go into denial or just skip past stuff or click on the next video. Face facts. If you're prepared, you shall not fear. Now, section 124, so you have this sickness which gets poured out from time to time. Section 124, verse 87, if you love me, keep my commandments. Then this, and the sickness of the land shall redound to your glory. The sickness of the land shall redound to your glory. Is that the particle of hope that you need? I hope it is. Talks about wormwood and the meteor impact. And also, when you read the Family Proclamation, it talks about the judgments that are talked about by ancient prophets. Purpose has to do with the breakdown of the family. Christ said that the love of many shall wax cold. And as it gets recorded in the Greek, the word is storge, or familial love. When families break apart, that's problematic. We use the expression more on the family, but I'm not sure if that's a good expression, but you know what I'm talking about. So there's a little bit of pause here. That's section 8, chapters 8 and 9. Chapter 10 is a special mission to John, and he gets called to this mission to the various nations, and it's symbolized by eating a book. And you see this in the Old Testament, prophets eating books or eating a scroll as, internalizing the call. And it's interesting, was bitterness is sweet in his mouth, but bitter in his stomach. An interesting contrast. But that part is just specifically for John, not for everyone else. Chapter 11 talks about 2 prophets in Jerusalem. And this is something Isaiah talked about. Isaiah chapter 51, also recorded in the Book of Mormon, 2 Nephi 8. And remember, there's the Book of Revelation is connected to the Book of Mormon, how Nephi had his vision, and then at a certain point, the angel says, okay, I'm stopping. You're going to see the rest of the vision that John saw, but don't record it. And, okay, we have to deal with the lesser portion of the word, but so be it. It's because it's our fault. Chapter 12. So chapter 12 has lengthy Joseph Smith translation changes, and they're in the appendix in the back. And I just want to kind of skip over the chapter, read the Joseph Smith translation. Don't try to puzzle it over with the King James Version. Make sure you're embracing the Joseph Smith translation. So it's about the war in heaven. So this is sort of not so much a flashback as a change in the view, an overview, where you get a comprehensive vision of the what's going on. So you have it stops at the 7th seal. Then you get this sort of overarching to keep the context for what's going on with the 7 seals and the trumps. So the theme changes to the war in heaven, And the church is not Mary, and this isn't the birth of Jesus. This is actually the church, or the woman is a church and not Mary, and she's giving birth to the political kingdom of God. You have the ecclesiastical to the political kingdom. On my mission to the city of Beja, Portugal, they have a nice statue of this, and they think it's Mary. And it's like, okay, I understand where you're coming from, and so I'm not going to get furious about it, but just make sure you're believing correct doctrine. Dragon's a saint. You have Michael fighting the war, and the angels that fall, the sons of perdition. So, where did I go with that? So, angels and trumps, wormwood, two prophets. Chapter 13. Now, this is one, sit there and take careful notes. You have three beasts in one image. So you have the first beast as a dragon or the devil. The second beast is one that comes out of the sea, and it's representative of the kingdoms of the earth in the Joseph Smith translation, and he was wounded and brought back to life. Then you have this other beast, the one that comes out of the earth, and he has two horns like the lamb. So this is an antichrist image, where the horns are a symbol of power, and they interact, they bring people to life, and they force people to worship things. As I'm reading it, you have the image of the sea beast, which is the first beast at the beginning of the chapter. It becomes the object of worship, where you worship political institutions. Churches become the substitute for the state. And so the church is controlling the state like they did during the Middle Ages. You have the church just dictating forms of worship, intruding upon worship, mandating how we worship and what we worship. Is your testimony hate speech? Think about that. Will time come when bearing your testimony is hate speech and land you in jail? Go back, read Spencer W. Kimball's conference talks and tell me what you think. Then you have the incidence of the mark. That this contrasts with the sealing. You have the 144,000 sealed, but also in Ezekiel chapter 9 and Alma 3, they talk about putting marks on their forehead. There's good seals, and there's good marks and bad marks, tied with temple worship. Now, the thing is, what happens if people don't have the mark of the beast on their forehead or on their hand, they have what's called debanking. They're not able to buy or sell. And you think about that. If you don't have access to your money in a bank, how soon before you starve to death? Will you deny the Christ so you can get a bread to eat? That was really bad timing for the alarm, because I was trying to bring up this nice tense moment, but that's my laundry alarm. I'm going to continue. This is important. The debanking. Let's say you go to your mailbox, and you have this envelope, and it's from your bank, and your bank says, look, you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Your organization has a history of racism. They're clearly homophobic. They're clearly transphobic. And we're not going to do business with you because we don't support these things. So here's all your money from your checking and savings account. We've closed your account. And here's the check. Now, what happens if every banking institution does this as a federal order, where the banks give you a check with your money on it, so it's your money, but you can't cash the check, and no bank will take you because you're the state says you're a hate group. See where this is going? It's not too far fetched. The term, like I said, Google the expression debanking, and the question, the mark of the beast, is 666. What does that mean? I don't know. From the context, people will say it refers to a Roman emperor, Nero, some of the numerology stuff. I don't think it does, because this is was there debanking at the time of Nero? I don't think so. Elder McConkie says he doesn't know, and this is from his Doctrinal New Testament commentary. And it'll be interesting to find out what this exactly means, because you have the mark and you have the number. And I'm sorry to let you down. I don't know. And some of the general authorities don't know. But, of course, I'll get revealed at a future date. Please don't shut off the video. I've got more coming. I realize we're at 19 minutes, and this is get to the point, and I got laundry waiting. So that was Chapter 13, the Mark of the Beast. And the issue isn't the number puzzling over that. The issue is what happens when you lose access to your bank account, where you can't buy stuff. How soon do you starve to death, and what will you do to get access to your money so you can buy food? That's a bigger issue. Chapter 14. This talks about the Lamb standing on Mount Zion with the sealed high priest, and you see the restorations going on there. The verse about the angel with the everlasting gospel that we understand to be Moroni. You see the fall of Babylon. This is sort of a contrast with chapter 12. 13 is sort of okay. Here 13 is here's the evil section. 14 is the heroic section. So here we are at 20 minutes, and I've covered all the chapters. Good, bad, and this does not do the stuff justice. You need to write down, take notes. So here's a Christ quotient with 3 points. First of all, reading the book of Revelation with the benefit of the Doctrine and Covenants of the Joseph Smith translation, it's not as difficult as you think it would be. People get caught up with the images and these horror images, and maybe back in the 1980s they saw these R-rated movies about horrid stuff, and they read that into our theology, or maybe you read the Left Behind series, and you're reading stuff in there which isn't exactly accurate, doesn't score with what Joseph Smith taught. But if you sit down there, pray for the gift of knowledge and understanding, and like I said, have a piece of paper handy and start diagramming stuff out, it's really quite orderly. As the President's secret, okay, here's the vision, here's the explanation. Secondly, when you read the book of Revelation, this is Christ's game plan for the last days. Like I said, 4 years ago in 2019, we were studying this, and next year we got a pandemic. Okay, what's going to happen next year? We're doing the same rut. Will nothing happen, or is the mutating COVID-19 virus, is that enough for us? Please take this seriously. This is Christ's game plan, and you're not left to wonder about what's going on. You read the newspaper and panic's like, no, here's the answer. It's God gave us the answer, so please embrace God's answer and pray for understanding. When you take it seriously, there will be more disasters. Denialism is not Christ-like. Denialism is not thinking celestial. The third thing, too, and this is a little bit more personal commentary, Oliver Cowdery was rebuked for taking no thought. You remember a section when he wanted to translate, and God says, you took no thought save what we're to ask. And God told him, you need to study it out. Now, reading the lesson beforehand, before you listen to me or before you show up to church, that constitutes studying it out. You take the book of Revelation, you show up to class, it's not going to go well because you have not done your due diligence. You haven't studied it out, and you can't get a revelation if you're just cruising on stuff that your mission president said or what someone else said 4 years ago, or the whack job video, or reading some of these books, people claiming that a general authority approves of their prophecies, but they won't give any names so you can verify it. No, just read the approved sources. Study it out, and God can give you revelation. God wants you to understand this. This is Christ's game plan. You understand what Christ is going to do in the last stage. You understand why, how these disasters come with the breakdown of the family and disobedience. Mercy cannot rob justice. That there's reasons why this is happening. So the macro and micro for God's plan for the earth, but also what's going on in our lives, where we're keeping quiet. Do you have a game plan in case you get debanked? So you're reading this, and this is a testament of Christ, and you're understanding what Christ is going to be doing in these next couple of years, the next decades. In following Christ, that's the point. 23 minutes. So next week, we will interrupt the apocalypse by having a nice Christmas lesson, and then back to the apocalypse. So there you go. Thank you.